should you get your green card in the United States or through the embassy? Adjustment of status versus consular processing in 2026. What's good for you? Let's go through it. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I help couples, family members, employers, and employees get their green cards and later citizenship as part of the U.S. immigration process. And I'm going to go over some critical things to think about if you're in the path to getting a green card. You're deciding whether to do it while you're inside the U.S. or outside. Now, the solution, the answer to this, it varies. It's really up to your background because it depends on what history you have, what country you're from, which embassy you're dealing with, which USCIS office you're dealing with, what status you maintain. So there's a lot of factors. This is a general overview, not intended as individual legal guidance, but I want you to be aware of before you even talk with the immigration lawyer, before you schedule a consultation with us. Information about that in the description below. But these are very important things to think about in 2026 as the Trump administration is changing everything and being much more difficult. The first one, in reference specifically to Trump administration, is whether you can maintain status long enough to be able to complete the adjustment of status process in the United States. Now, according to the rules, if you're in status, you're here on a tourist visa, you're here on student visa, work visa, and you file the form I-485 for adjustment of status, even if you fall out of status, the school ends, the work ends, you can still stay here as long as you don't violate it in a lot of cases and get the green card. But the Trump administration, I guess, an effort to increase numbers of people being booked and increase people in the beds at the detention center, can potentially pick you up in the meantime because you're out of status and you have to fight it out, getting detained, potentially filing a lawsuit, go to immigration court and ask for a judge to give you a green card. That's possible to still get the green card in a lot of these cases, but as you can imagine, it's a nightmare, a complete nightmare to go through it. So, people still do it. It's not like widespread. It's not the law of the land that this happens, but it's happening sporadically enough as it is right now that you really got to take this into consideration, the risk reward of it, before making a decision. And what are the risk rewards we got to talk about? A lot of time it has to do with the timelines. Now, if you're filing for adjustment of status in the United States and your case is current, then potentially it might get done in a couple months. And that's like the real speed up that happened once the Trump administration came in 2025. Things, like marriage green card adjustment cases for U.S. citizen spouses taking, 2 to 4 months. It's incredible. And sometimes even faster for employment-based cases that are current. But if you go through the embassy system, you might be waiting 1, 2, or 3 years to see your spouse. And that's going to be a travesty. So you got to really prepare for that. And make a decision. Do I really want to be away from my spouse or from career opportunities for that long, or would I want to do it with adjustment of status? And that's why it might be worth taking the risk of having to deal with being detained in these kind of cases. It's unfortunate that you have to make this risk. It's not necessary, but that's the administration's decision to put people through this. Now, if you are going to be in the United States, then the issue comes when you file for adjustment of status is that you cannot travel outside. You cannot leave. Now, if you have H-1B visa and L-1, there's an exception to that. But until you get what's called that advanced parole, you're stuck here. Now, if you have travel needs, you have a sick family member abroad, you have work, or you have businesses, a lawsuit, or something like that where you need to travel internationally, that's just something you have to consider because if you do adjustment of status, you can file for, again, advanced parole, travel permission. But typically, those take too long to get, sometimes 7, 8, 9 months, sometimes even longer. And so is it worth it to apply for that or not? That's a big decision you have to make. That could affect the process. Now, speaking of being stuck and things taking a long time, some embassies and some people from some countries are subject to a thing called administrative processing if they go to their visa interview. So if you're from Pakistan, if you're from Iran, for example, or a lot of, non-European countries, essentially, after you do your interview, they're going to say, we need additional background checks. And again, Pakistan has this happen a lot. And then you're stuck 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year extra after your interview, after we already waited for a year or 2 or 3 to have an in-person interview. So that becomes a factor to consider. Hey, it's going to take even longer than I thought for my country. Maybe it's better if I can lawfully adjust status. That's something that I should consider. Now, be mindful of this also. There's a travel ban for certain countries, like, for example, Iran included, not Pakistan. If you're an immediate relative, you have an exception to a travel ban. So if you're married to a U.S. citizen, that doesn't apply to you, although administrative processing might apply. On the other end, inside the United States, as of this month, there's a USCIS pause on travel ban country cases, those who they consider terrorist countries, if you will. And so what then happens is, in the US, you don't know if your case is going to be adjudicated, what they're going to do, we still don't even know. And if it's on pause, your status might expire and you'll be out of status until, you go for a judge and go back to all this stuff I talked about earlier. So these are, calculations you got to make. It's not easy, it's complicated, and that's where our jobs as advisors come in as immigration lawyers to help you with this, especially if you have experience and are thoughtful about it, and see what's happening in the world, see what's happening with your clients. They kind of give the best advice that you can give, and that becomes really important. And the next thing I want to talk about is about, it's really the last one because I kind of went over the other ones, is if you can even apply for adjustment of status. And this surprises people. Sometimes they file and they realize, oh, I had an immigration violation in the past. I didn't realize that. Work with authorization, that wasn't counted. I had a denial that was bad in the past for some other case. I may have overstayed at the time. That it takes away my ability to adjust status. Now, there's exceptions. For example, if you're an immediate relative, a lot of stuff gets fixed up. If you have a thing called 245K for employment-based cases, that could be an exception. But if these exceptions don't apply, for example, let's say you once overstayed a visa 10 years ago, and now you're back on a student visa. You told the embassy you had to overstay, and they said it's okay, you're not subject to any ban. But then you come in and you get married, you file for adjustment of status, and you're, say, on an H-1B visa, you're all good. They can still deny the case because on a marriage-based case, if you ever on a previous entry had any violations, you still can't adjust status. And imagine spending all that time, money, just to get denied. And nowadays, if you get denied and you don't have status, haven't maintained it, you're going to immigration court and you're going to be detained. So you really want to plan this stuff out. It's not as easy and clean as you think, and it's just getting wilder and wilder. It's even hard for us immigration attorneys to really fathom how bad they're going to be to people and how they are being bad, and how much things that used to let slide are not. So we got to be on top of all these nuances of the law to be very careful. If you're interested in a marriage green card case, we have a guide called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. You can download that if you go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It goes over a lot of this to help you analyze the fiancé visa versus marriage case, U.S. citizen spouse versus LPR. There's a lot of these other issues that can be problematic. And if you want to schedule a consultation, go to jqqlaw.com/contact, and we'll help you out right there. I wish you all the best.